The rain hit like fists against my face as I stood in the front yard, my clothes soaked through to my skin. Amanda screamed from the porch that I was useless, a burden she could no longer carry. My belongings lay scattered across the muddy lawn like trash. Martha had been gone only 3 weeks. I clutched the waterproof folder against my chest under my jacket, protecting what my daughter didn't know existed. She slammed the door with such force the windows rattled. I looked down at that folder and whispered into the storm. By sunrise, everything would change. I found shelter under the massive oak tree at the edge of the property, its thick branches providing some protection from the downpour. The house lights glowed warm behind curtains, and I could see shadows moving inside. My daughter's world, continuing without me. I pressed my back against the rough bark and let myself remember. 3 weeks ago, Martha collapsed in our kitchen while making her famous blueberry pancakes. One moment she was humming along to the radio, the next she was on the floor. The paramedics said it was a massive heart attack. She was gone before they got her to the hospital. 42 years of marriage ended in the time it takes to flip a pancake. Wed, built everything together. Martha and me. Started our accounting firm right out of college with nothing but student loans and determination. She handled the clients with her warm smile and genuine care for their problems. I crunched the numbers and made sure everyone stayed on the right side of the tax laws. We were a team, always. Ike and Martha, Martha and Ike. People in town knew us as a unit. Amanda was our only child. Wed wanted more, but it wasn't meant to be. So we poured everything into her. She was 38 now, married to Greg for 15 years. They had 2 kids I adored. Tyler was 12, all gangly limbs and quiet intelligence. Emma was 9, still believed in magic and fairy tales. They were my world after Martha left it. At the funeral, Amanda held my hand and cried on my shoulder. She insisted I come stay with them, said I shouldn't be alone in that big house with all those memories. She made it sound like she was doing me a favor, like she was the devoted daughter taking care of her grieving father. I was so lost in pain I didn't see what was really happening. I sold the house within 2 weeks. Amanda said she'd help me find a nice apartment nearby once I was ready. The money from the sale went into my accounts. She never asked about it. I moved into their guest room with just my clothes and a few boxes of personal items. That's when everything changed. She put me to work immediately. Cook breakfast, she'd say. I have to get the kids ready. Watch Tyler and Emma after school, she'd demand. I have errands to run. Clean the kitchen, mow the lawn, take out the trash, fold the laundry. I tried to help. Tried to stay busy so I wouldn't think about the empty space beside me in bed. Tried to be useful so I wouldn't feel like such a burden. But nothing I did was good enough. The eggs were too runny. The lawn had uneven patches. I folded the towels wrong. Greg barely spoke to me, just grunted when I said good morning. Looked through me like I was a piece of furniture. I caught him rolling his eyes when Amanda asked me to do something. They'd whisper together in their bedroom at night, voices rising and falling like waves. I couldn't hear the words, but I knew they were about me. Tonight was the breaking point. I was making coffee after dinner, trying to figure out their fancy machine with all its buttons and settings. My hands shook. They'd been shaking since Martha died. I pressed the wrong button and something inside the machine made a grinding noise. Then smoke. Then nothing. The display went black. Amanda came running into the kitchen and saw the dead machine. Her face turned purple with rage. That coffee maker cost $800, she screamed. $800, and I'd destroyed it with my incompetence. I tried to apologize, tried to offer to replace it, but she wasn't listening. She called me worthless, said I contributed nothing to the household, that I was just taking up space, eating their food, using their electricity, draining their resources. Greg appeared in the doorway, arms crossed, watching. I looked at him, silently begging for some defense, some acknowledgement that I was a human being who'd just lost his wife. He said nothing. just stood there, with that cold expression. Amanda started grabbing my things, ripped clothes from hangers in the guest room closet, threw my shoes down the hallway, swept my toiletries off the bathroom counter into a trash bag. She was crying and screaming at the same time, saying she couldn't do this anymore, couldn't take care of a grown man who couldn't even work a coffee maker. I tried to reason with her, reminded her it just lost Martha. Reminded her I was her father. She said Martha was gone and I needed to accept it. That I couldn't use grief as an excuse to be useless forever. The words cut deeper than any knife. She opened the front door and started throwing everything into the yard. The rain had just started, light drops at first. I stood in the doorway asking her to please calm down. Please, let's talk about this. She told me to get out. When I didn't move fast enough, she physically pushed me out onto the porch. Go find somewhere else to be a burden, she said. I remembered the folder then. The documents had been keeping in the nightstand drawer. I pushed past her, ran to the guest room, grabbed it from the drawer just as she was coming after me. She tried to snatch it from my hands, but I held tight. What's that? She demanded. Nothing, I said. Just papers. She laughed bitterly. Of course it's nothing, she said. Everything about you is nothing. She shoved me one final time, and I stumbled out into the rain. By then it was coming down hard. She threw the last of my belongings after me and slammed the door. I heard the deadbolt click, heard her sobbing on the other side, heard Greg's voice, low and comforting, talking to her, not to me, never to me. I gathered what I could carry, left the rest scattered across the grass, found shelter under this oak tree, and I opened the folder just slightly, enough to see what was inside. Property deeds, stock certificates, bank statements, the documentation of everything Martha and I had built over 4 decades of hard work and careful planning. My hands trembled as I looked at those papers. Amanda had no idea at all. She thought I was some penniless old man, a charity case, a burden with nothing to offer. She didn't know that Martha and I had sold our firm 2 years ago for $3.2 million. Didn't know about the 4 rental properties we owned, now worth $1.2 million combined. Didn't know about the stock portfolio worth $1.8 million. Didn't know about the additional savings and bonds, another $800,000. She'd thrown away a father worth $7 million. I closed the folder and held it against my chest. The rain soaked through my clothes, but the folder stayed dry, waterproof, because Martha always thought ahead, always protected what mattered. I thought about the unsigned amendment inside, the document that would have made Amanda an immediate co-beneficiary of everything. I'd planned to sign it this week, planned to tell her about the money, set up her family for life, make sure my grandchildren had everything they needed. Now, standing in the rain with my daughter's hatred still ringing in my ears, I whispered to Martha's memory. She has no idea what she's done, and by sunrise, she's going to find out. The rain slowed to a steady drizzle as I walked the 6 blocks to Bernie's diner. My feet squished in my wet shoes with every step. Cars passed, their headlights briefly illuminating me before leaving me in darkness again. I kept the folder tucked inside my jacket, one arm wrapped around it protectively. Bernie's had been open 24 hours for as long as I could remember. Martha and I used to come here for late-night coffee when we were working on particularly difficult tax returns. The owner, Bernie himself, had passed away 5 years ago, but his daughter kept the place running exactly as he had. Red vinyl booths, black and white checkered floor, a jukebox in the corner that still played actual records. The bell above the door chimed as I entered. The warmth hit me immediately, and I realized how cold it'd become. There were only 3 other customers, scattered at different tables, hunched over coffee cups and plates of pie. The waitress looked up from behind the counter, and her eyes widened. Carol was around 65, had been working at Bernie's for 30 years. She'd served Martha and me countless times. She recognized me instantly, despite my bedraggled appearance. "Lord have mercy, Ike," she said, rushing over with a towel. "What happened to you?" I couldn't speak at first, just stood there dripping on her clean floor. She guided me to a corner booth, the one Martha and I always preferred, away from the windows. She brought me the towel, poured coffee without asking, and disappeared into the back. When she returned, she had a dry t-shirt that said Bernie's Diner across the front. "It was Bernie's," she said softly. "Kept a few of his things in the back. He was about your size." I thanked her, went to the bathroom, changed into the dry shirt. My pants were still soaked, but at least my top half felt human again. When I returned to the booth, Carol had added a plate of toast and was sitting across from me. "You don't have to tell me," she said, "but I'm here if you want to." So I told her everything. Martha's death, moving in with Amanda, the slow deterioration of respect, tonight's explosion over a coffee maker, being thrown out into the rain. I didn't mention the folder yet. That part felt too raw, too private. Carol listened without interrupting. When I finished, she reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Her palm was rough from years of carrying hot plates and wiping down tables. "I lost my Henry 12 years ago," she said. "Heart attack just like your Martha. Our daughter lived in California. She called once a month if I was lucky. When Henry died, she came for the funeral, stayed 3 days, and left. Said she had to get back to her life." "I'm sorry," I said. "Don't be. I learned something important. Blood doesn't automatically mean love, and sometimes the people who show you who they really are, you need to believe them." I thought about that while I sipped my coffee. The folder sat on the bench beside me. Carol noticed it, raised an eyebrow. "Important papers?" I hesitated, then nodded. "Very important." She didn't push, just refilled my coffee and stood up. "You sit as long as you need, Ike. This booth is yours tonight." But I found myself wanting to tell someone, needing to share the weight I was carrying. So when she came back to check on me, I asked her to sit again, and I opened the folder. Her eyes grew wider with each document I showed her. She was smart, had done bookkeeping before waitressing. She understood what she was looking at. "Ike," she whispered, "does Amanda know about any of this?" I shook her my head. Martha and I were going to tell her. We lived modestly, never flaunted anything. Wanted to surprise her with a generous inheritance, set up trusts for the grandkids. I showed her the amendment, still unsigned, explained that I'd planned to sign it this week, would have given Amanda immediate access to everything if something happened to me. Carol sat back, her face pale. "Given what you just told me about how she treated you, if you'd signed that and then, God forbid, something happened to you." "I know," I said. "I came very close to making a terrible mistake." We sat in silence for a moment. Then Carol said something that changed everything. "My nephew is a lawyer, estate planning. He works early mornings, gets to his office by 6. She glanced at the clock on the wall. "It's almost 4 now. Would you like me to call him?" I should have said no. Should have waited, thought things through. But the image of Amanda's face, as she called me useless, kept flashing through my mind. The sound of that door slamming. The feeling of my belongings hitting me as she threw them into the rain. "Yes," I said. "Please call him." Carol made the call from the phone behind the counter. Came back 15 minutes later with a smile. "Hez coming. Should be here in about 20 minutes. Philip arrived in exactly 18 minutes. He was about 40, wearing a suit despite the early hour, carrying a leather briefcase. Carol introduced us and he slid into the booth across from me. He ordered coffee and asked me to start from the beginning. I told the story again, this time including all the financial details. Philip took notes in a small leather notebook, asking clarifying questions occasionally. When I showed him the documents, he examined each one carefully. His expression remained neutral until he got to the unsigned amendment. "Mr. Ike," he said, and his voice was very serious. "If you'd signed this amendment, and something happened to you, Your daughter would have immediate access to everything. Given what you've told me about her behavior, about her husband's attitude, I think you need to consider other options." "What kind of options?" I asked. Philip leaned back, sipped his coffee. "Well, you could establish a trust that protects your assets. You could set up provisions that ensure your grandchildren are cared for without giving unlimited access to your daughter. You could even, if you chose, modify your will to reflect the current situation." My hands started trembling again. These were my daughter's future we were discussing. My grandchildren's security. Philip must have seen my distress. He softened his tone. "I'm not suggesting you disinherit anyone. I'm suggesting you protect yourself and ensure your wishes are actually honored. You can still provide for your family while maintaining appropriate boundaries." Appropriate boundaries. Martha had always said I was too soft with Amanda, too willing to overlook her flaws, make excuses for her behavior. Maybe if I'd set boundaries earlier, we wouldn't be here now. "How close did I come?" I asked Philip. "To disaster?" He looked me straight in the eye. "If you'd signed this a week ago, and tonight's confrontation had escalated, if you'd been injured or had a heart attack from the stress, your daughter would have controlled everything before sunrise. She could have frozen accounts, taken possession of properties, made decisions about your medical care, all legally." The coffee suddenly tasted bitter in my mouth. Carol, who'd been listening quietly, put her hand on my shoulder. "Thank God you came here, Ike. Thank God you waited." Philip closed his notebook. "It's almost 6 in the morning. My office opens at 8. Why don't we go there, review all your documents properly, and discuss the best way forward?" I nodded, unable to speak. The magnitude of what had almost happened was crushing me. Philip stood, picked up his briefcase, pulled out a business card. "Well, figure this out, Mr. Ike. Sometimes the worst moments lead to the best decisions." Carol walked us to the door, hugged me tight. "You come back any time," she said. "And Ike, your Martha would want you to take care of yourself, not just everyone else." As Philip and I walked to his car, the sun was just starting to lighten the eastern sky. The rain had stopped completely. The air smelled clean and new. I looked back toward Amanda's house, 6 blocks away. Had no idea her father had spent the night in a diner with a lawyer, examining documents that represented her entire future. By sunrise, it thought earlier, by sunrise, she'd realize her mistake. But standing there with Philip, Carol's words echoing in my head, I realized something else. By sunrise, I was the one who'd changed. The desperate, grieving man who'd stood in the rain had transformed into someone who understood his own worth. Someone who recognized that love without respect isn't really love at all. "Martha," I whispered to the morning sky, "I hope I'm doing the right thing." The breeze that answered felt like her hand in mine, guiding me forward. At precisely 6:30 in the morning, Philip pulled his sedan up in front of Amanda's house. My belongings were still scattered across the lawn, soaked from the night's rain. A child's soccer ball had come to rest against my favorite reading chair, the one Amanda had thrown out first. "You don't have to do this right now," Philip said. "We could come back later." But I shook my head. I needed to collect my things, needed to face what happened, and something in me wanted Amanda to see me with a lawyer at my side, wanted her to wonder what came next. We gathered the items from the yard first. Philip helped me load the wet, muddy belongings into his trunk. Some things were ruined beyond saving. Martha's favorite photo of us, taken on our 30th anniversary in Maine. The glass shattered and water damaged. A quilt her mother had made, now soaked and covered in mud. Each ruined item felt like another small death. The lights were on inside the house. I could see movement through the kitchen window. Amanda was awake. "Ready?" Philip asked. I nodded and we approached the front door. I rang the doorbell, then rang it again. kept my finger on it until the door jerked open. Amanda stood there in her bathrobe, hair uncombed, eyes red and puffy. She'd been crying. When she saw me standing there with a well-dressed stranger carrying a briefcase, her expression shifted from surprise to suspicion. "Dad," she started, but I held up my hand. "This is Philip," I said. "Hez my attorney. We're here to collect my remaining belongings." Amanda tried to close the door, but Philip stepped forward smoothly, his foot blocking it. "Mom, I need to ensure my client can retrieve his personal property. We can do this cooperatively, or I can get law enforcement involved. Your choice." Greg appeared behind Amanda, still in his pajamas. "What's going on? Who is this?" "I'm Mr. Ike's legal counsel," Philip said calmly. "Are you going to allow us entry or not?" Amanda's face flushed red, but she stepped back. The house smelled like coffee and toast. Normal morning smells that seemed obscene given the circumstances. This had been my temporary home. The place I'd grieved for Martha. The place I'd tried to be helpful, tried to earn my keep. Now it felt hostile and foreign. "I want you to know," Amanda started, her voice shaking, "that we've been supporting you completely since Mom died, taking care of you. And you've contributed nothing. We can't afford dead weight." Greg nodded, emboldened by his wife's words. "It's not personal, sir. It's just economics." Philip set his briefcase down on the coffee table. "Interesting perspective. Tell me, Amanda, what did your parents do for a living?" Amanda looked confused by the question. "They had a small accounting business. Why? And do you know what happened to that business?" "They retired a few years ago. Sold it, I guess." "Why does that matter?" Philip glanced at me. I gave him a small nod. He could plant the seeds. Let her wonder. "It matters more than you might think," Philip said. "But we're not here to discuss that. We're here for Mr. Ike's property." I walked toward the guest room, Philip following. Amanda and Greg trailed behind, whispering to each other. I could feel their confusion, their unease. Good. Let them feel unsettled for once. The room had been stripped. The bed was bare. My nightstand drawers hung open and empty. They'd been thorough. But I checked the closet, found a few shirts still on hangers, a pair of shoes in the back corner. Checked the bathroom, found my prescription medications still in the cabinet. They hadn't thought to throw those out. As I gathered these last few items, Philip kept up a steady stream of professional questions. "Do you have a written agreement regarding Mr. Ike's stay here? Did you discuss financial contributions? Did you establish any formal caregiving arrangement?" With each question, Amanda grew more defensive. "We're family," she kept saying. "We don't need formal agreements. We were helping him." "Helping," Philip repeated, his tone making it clear what he thought of that characterization. Greg suddenly seemed very interested in Philip's presence. "You said you're his attorney? A state attorney?" "I handle various legal matters for my clients," Philip said smoothly, "including property rights and estate planning." Amanda's eyes darted to Greg, then back to me. "Dad," she said, and her voice had changed, become almost pleading. "Can we talk? Privately?" "No," I said. The word came out stronger than I expected. "Whatever you have to say, you can say in front of Philip. She faltered. "I want you to know I was stressed last night. Overwhelmed. I didn't mean the things I said." "You called me useless," I said quietly. "Worthless. A burden. You threw my belongings into the rain. You physically pushed me out of your house." "I was grieving too," she said, and tears started rolling down her cheeks. "I lost my mother. I was trying to hold everything together, and you broke the coffee maker, and I just what? Decided I was disposable?" Greg put his hand on Amanda's shoulder. "Maybe we all need to calm down here." Philip turned to Greg. "And you, sir? Where were you when your wife was berating her recently widowed father and throwing him out in the rain?" Greg's face reddened. I was. It was between them. I didn't. You stood there, I said. You watched. You said nothing. The room fell silent. In the distance, I heard footsteps on the stairs. Small footsteps. Emma appeared in the doorway in her pajamas, her favorite stuffed rabbit clutched to her chest. She saw me, and her face lit up. "Grandpa!" She ran toward me, but Amanda caught her. "Emma, go back to your room," Amanda said sharply. But Emma twisted in her mother's grip, reaching for me. I woke up and you were gone, and your room was empty, and I was scared. "Emma, honey." Amanda tried to pull her away, but Emma started crying. "Why are you so mean to Grandpa?" Emma sobbed. "Grandma wouldn't like it. Grandma would be so mad at you." "That's enough," Greg said, trying to take Emma from Amanda. But Emma wasn't done. She looked at her mother with a child's devastating honesty. "You yell at Grandpa all the time. You make him do all the work. You make him sad. I hate it. I hate how you treat him." Amanda's face crumpled. She let go of Emma, who immediately ran to me. I knelt down and held my granddaughter, while she cried into my shoulder. Over her head, I looked at Amanda, saw the shame and horror in her eyes, saw the recognition that even her own daughter could see what she'd become. Philip's voice was gentle when he spoke. "Mr. Ike, we should go. We have that appointment at the office." Emma clutched me tighter. "Don't go, Grandpa. Please don't go." I stroked her hair, fighting back my own tears. "I have to, sweetheart. But he'll see you again soon. I promise." "When?" "Soon. Very soon." I stood up, Emma still hanging onto my hand. I looked at Amanda. "Your mother loved you so much. She would be heartbroken to see what you've become." Amanda made a sound like a wounded animal. Greg stepped forward, but Philip blocked his path. "We're leaving now," Philip said firmly. "Mr. Ike, do you have everything?" I nodded. Emma finally let go of my hand, tears streaming down her face. I touched her cheek gently. "Be good for your mom and dad. And remember, Grandma and I both love you very much." We walked out. Amanda called after me, her voice breaking. "Dad, please. We need to talk about Mom's estate. There are things we need to discuss." I kept walking. "Dad, there were accounts. I found some information. We should go through it together." I got in Philip's car. As we drove away, I looked back once. Amanda was standing in the doorway, Greg beside her, both of them looking lost and confused. Emma was at the upstairs window, pressing her hand against the glass. Philip was quiet for a few blocks. Then he said, "That was harder than you expected." "Yes," I admitted. "Your granddaughter loves you. She's the best thing in my life right now, her and Tyler." "Well, make sure you don't lose them," Philip said. "Well, make sure of it." We drove to Philip's office in silence. The sun was fully up now, painting the streets gold. People were heading to work, starting their normal days. My life felt anything but normal. At his office, Philip made fresh coffee, and we settled into his conference room. He spread out all my documents again, made copies of everything. Then he pulled out a folder of his own. "Before we discuss your estate planning," he said, "there's something you should know. I had my investigator friend run a quick background check on your son-in-law last night. After what you told me, I wanted to understand the full picture." He opened the folder and pushed it across the table to me. "Greg lost his job 4 months ago. He hasn't told Amanda. They're 3 months behind on their mortgage. Creditors are calling. And there's more. Has been gambling online. Lost over $60,000 in the past 6 months." I stared at the papers. The detailed report of Greg's financial disaster. "Amanda doesn't know any of this?" "According to the investigator, no. Greg's been hiding it all. And I suspect," Philip said carefully, "that when you moved in, he saw you as a potential solution, someone who might have money to help. When he realized you appeared to have nothing, when you became a burden instead of a resource. He convinced Amanda to get rid of you. The enormity of it settled over me like a heavy blanket. They hadn't thrown me out because I was truly useless. They'd thrown me out because I appeared broke and they were desperate. If Greg had known about the $7 million, I would have been a prized guest, a golden ticket out of debt. The manipulation made me feel sick. I looked at Philip. What do I do now? Now, he said, we make sure you're protected. We make sure your grandchildren are protected, and we give your daughter a chance to understand what she's really done. Philip drove me to the Riverside Hotel, a comfortable mid-range place overlooking the river. He helped me check in for a full week, carried my salvaged belongings up to a clean, quiet room on the 3rd floor. While I showered and changed into the least damaged of my clothes, Philip ordered room service breakfast for both of us. When I emerged feeling almost human, there were eggs, bacon, toast, fresh fruit, and coffee spread across the small table by the window. Philip was on his phone, texting rapidly. Sit, eat, he said. You need your strength. I realized I hadn't eaten since yesterday's lunch. I was ravenous. We ate in companionable silence for a few minutes, watching the river flow past below. Philip's phone buzzed. He read the message and smiled. That's my assistant. Just cleared my morning schedule. We have time to discuss your options thoroughly. Over the next hour, Philip laid out everything. He explained how we could modify my estate plan to protect my assets, how we could establish trusts that would provide for my grandchildren directly without giving Amanda unlimited access, how we could structure things to incentivize good behavior and maintain boundaries. But here's what you need to understand, Philip said. This isn't about punishment. This is about protection and fairness. Your daughter made choices. Those choices have consequences, but you can still choose to be generous while being wise. What if I did nothing? I asked. What if I just left everything as it is? Then Amanda will inherit everything when you die. And based on what I've seen of her husband's financial situation and decision-making, there's a good chance it will all be gone within 5 years. Your grandchildren will see none of it. Your 40 years of hard work with Martha will evaporate. That's not what Martha would want, I said quietly. No, Philip agreed. I don't think it is. We discussed options. A trust for Tyler and Emma, $1 million each. Accessible at specific ages. An annual allowance for Amanda with conditions attached. Maintaining enough for my own comfortable retirement. It was practical, fair, and painful, because it meant acknowledging that my daughter couldn't be trusted with the full inheritance I'd always planned to give her. Meanwhile, Philip told me, his investigator had discovered something else. Martha had given Amanda $75,000 3 months before she died. A secret gift, meant as an emergency fund. Amanda had never mentioned it to anyone, not even Greg. Shed stashed it in a separate account. Martha knew something was wrong in Amanda's marriage, Philip said. She was protecting her daughter. I had no idea Martha had done that. No idea she'd been worried enough to act. It made me realize how much I'd missed in those final months, too focused on work and routine to see what Martha had seen. Philip's phone rang. He answered, listened, then covered the mouthpiece. It's Amanda. She's calling my office. Apparently she got the number from my business card. She wants to speak with you. What should I tell her? I thought about it. Part of me wanted to refuse. Let her stew. But another part, the part that was still her father, wanted to hear what Shed'd say. Tell her we'll meet tomorrow. Your office. 10 in the morning. She and Greg both need to be there. Philip relayed the message, listened to her response, then hung up. She agreed. She sounds desperate, Ike. I think she's been doing research. I think she's starting to understand. Starting to understand what? That her parents weren't poor. That she might have made a very expensive mistake. The rest of the day passed in a blur of paperwork and planning. Philip had me sign documents that would protect my assets immediately. We set up new accounts, established safeguards. By evening, I was legally protected in ways I hadn't been the day before. Philip dropped me back at the hotel. Before he left, he shook my hand. "Get some rest. Tomorrow is going to be difficult. But remember, you're doing the right thing. You're protecting yourself and your grandchildren. That's not cruel. That's wise." After he left, I stood at the window watching the sun set over the river. My phone, which Philip had gotten for me that morning, had 17 missed calls from Amanda, 12 voicemails. I listened to them in order. The first few were angry. How dare I involve a lawyer? How dare I make this complicated? She was my daughter. We were family. We should handle this privately. Then they became worried. Shed found some information about the sale of the business. She needed to talk to me about Martha's estate. There were things we needed to discuss. Then they became desperate. Please call her back. Please. She was sorry about the coffee maker. She was sorry about everything. She just wanted to talk. The last message was the most revealing. Her voice was small, scared. "Dad, I know I messed up. I know I said terrible things, but we're family. We're all we have left. Please don't shut me out. Please." I saved the messages but didn't call back. Let her wait. Let her wonder. Let her feel a fraction of what Id felt, standing in the rain. I ordered dinner from room service, watched mindless television, tried not to think about Martha. But of course, that was impossible. Everything reminded me of her. The way the sunset looked on the river, how Shed loved sunsets, the taste of the coffee, how she took hers with 2 sugars and a splash of cream. The emptiness of the bed, where Shed slept beside me for 42 years. I pulled out my wallet and found the photo I always carried, our wedding day. Martha in her simple white dress, me in a rented tuxedo that was slightly too big. We looked so young, so hopeful, so certain that love was enough. Was it enough? I asked her picture. Did we do it right? Did we raise her wrong? Where did we fail? The photo didn't answer. But as I drifted off to sleep, I dreamed of Martha. She was in our kitchen, making those blueberry pancakes. She turned to me and smiled. "You know what to do, Ike," she said. "You've always known. You just needed to be strong enough to do it." I woke at 3 in the morning, her words echoing in my head. She was right. I did know what to do. The question was whether I had the courage to follow through. Philip's office was in a modern building downtown, all glass and steel. Amanda and Greg arrived at 9:55, 5 minutes early. I watched from Philip's window as they got out of their car, saw Amanda smoothing her dress nervously, Greg adjusting his tie. They'd dressed up, trying to look respectable, trying to make a good impression. Too late for that, I thought. Philip's assistant showed them to the conference room. Philip and I waited 5 minutes before joining them. A small power play, perhaps petty, but I needed every advantage I could get. When we entered, Amanda stood up immediately. "Dad," she said, and moved toward me with her arms out. I stepped back. "Please sit down, Amanda." Her arms fell. She sat. Greg had already been seated, looking uncomfortable in his too tight suit. Had gained weight since the last time I'd seen him dressed up. Philip opened his briefcase and began arranging documents on the table. "Thank you both for coming. We're here to discuss the estate of Martha and future planning for Ike." Amanda interrupted immediately. "I found some accounts Mom had. We should probably combine resources, make sure everything is together and organized. Let's review the complete financial picture first," Philip said smoothly. He began spreading documents across the table. Deeds, certificates, statements. I watched Amanda's face as she processed what she was seeing. Her eyes grew wider with each page. The rental properties, 4 buildings in good neighborhoods, collectively worth $1.2 million. The stock portfolio, carefully diversified, $1.8 million. The proceeds from the business sale, $3.2 million, sitting in investment accounts. The additional savings in bonds, $800,000. Philip let her absorb it all before speaking. The total estate value is approximately $7 million. Amanda's face went white, then red. She looked at me, then at the papers, then back at me. I had no idea. You never said. You and Mom never told me. Greg's mouth was literally hanging open. His eyes darted between the documents and me, calculating. This is, he started. This is wonderful news for the family. Philip's voice was ice cold. This is Ike's estate to manage as he sees fit. Amanda found her voice. Of course it is. She reached for my hand across the table. I pulled back. Like we worked together when you threw me out in the rain? I asked quietly. Her face crumpled. Dad, I was so stressed. I didn't mean those things. I was grieving too. I wasn't thinking straight. You called me useless, I said. Worthless. A burden. Greg tried to interject. Sir, Amanda was under enormous pressure. Taking care of you, running the household, managing everything. She just snapped. It happens. You stood there silent, I said to him. You watched your wife destroy me and you said nothing. Philip cleared his throat. Mr. Ike has asked me to prepare revised estate documents. Amanda relaxed slightly. Revised. Okay, that's good. We should update everything. Philip continued. The new plan establishes trusts for Tyler and Emma, ensuring their education and future security. $1 million each. Managed by an independent trustee, accessible at ages 25 and 30. Amanda nodded eagerly. That's generous. That's wonderful. And the rest? The rest is subject to Mr. Ike's discretion during his lifetime. Upon his death, the estate will be divided according to his wishes at that time. Amanda's smile faded. What does that mean? What are his wishes? Ike spoke for the first time. It means I haven't decided yet if you deserve anything. The room went silent. Amanda stared at me. Dad, you can't be serious. I'm completely serious. You showed me who you are when you thought I had nothing. You threw away your father like trash. Why should I give you my life's work? Martha was my wife, I said. For 42 years. I buried her 3 weeks ago. And less than a month later, you kicked me out into the rain. Tears were streaming down Amanda's face now. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Philip interjected. There is also the matter of the $75,000. Amanda went very still. What $75,000? The money Martha gave you 3 months before she died. The emergency fund she asked you to keep safe and secret? Amanda's face went pale. Greg turned to her sharply. What is he talking about? What money? Amanda stammered. Mom gave me some money. For emergencies. I was saving it. Greg stood up, his face purple. We're 3 months behind on the mortgage and you had $75,000? You lost your job? Amanda's voice was shrill. When? Greg sat back down heavily. 4 months ago. Amanda's shock was genuine. 4 months? You've been lying to me for 4 months? It gets worse, Philip said calmly. He opened another folder. Your husband has also been gambling online. Has lost approximately $60,000 in the past 6 months. Amanda turned to Greg, horror on her face. You've been gambling? With what money? Credit cards. Loans. Whatever I could get. I watched my daughter's world collapse around her. Watched her realize that her husband had been lying, manipulating, destroying their financial stability. Watched her understand that she'd been used. She turned to me, her face a mask of betrayal and confusion. Did you know about this? I found out yesterday, I said. When my attorney did a background check to understand why you'd treated me the way you did. Amanda looked between Greg and me. Why would you check? Because I needed to understand. And what I found was that your husband saw me as a potential solution to his problems. When he realized I appeared to have nothing, he convinced you to get rid of me." "That's not true," Greg said, but his voice was weak. Amanda was shaking. "Get out," she said to Greg. "Amanda," he started. "Get out of this office. Get out of my sight." She was screaming now. "You've been lying to me, destroying us, and you used me to hurt my father." Greg stood, looked at me pleadingly. "Sir, I can explain." "Get out," Amanda screamed again. Greg left. We heard his footsteps in the hallway, the ding of the elevator, then silence. Amanda put her head in her hands and sobbed. "I've destroyed everything, haven't I? My marriage, my relationship with you. Everything." I felt my heart soften slightly. She was still my daughter, still the little girl who used to climb into my lap and ask me to read her stories. But Philip's hand on my arm reminded me to stay strong. "You made choices, Amanda," I said quietly. "You have to live with them." "What do I do now?" she asked through her tears. "That," I said, "is up to you." We sat in silence while Amanda cried. Philip's assistant brought tissues and water. Eventually, Amanda's sobs quieted to sniffles. She looked at me with red, swollen eyes. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness," she said. "I know I hurt you when you were already broken. I have no excuse. Greg manipulated me. Yes, but I made my own choices. I said those horrible things. I threw you out. That was me." I nodded. "It was you. Mom would hate me right now," Amanda whispered. "She'd be so ashamed of what I became." "Yes," I said. "She would be." Amanda flinched as if it hit her. But it was the truth, and she needed to hear it. Philip spoke gently. "Amanda, your father asked me to prepare an estate plan that protects everyone involved. He still wants to provide for you and your children. But it will be on his terms, with appropriate boundaries." "What kind of boundaries?" He spread out new documents. "Your children will have trusts that ensure their futures. Your father will provide you with an annual allowance of $50,000. But there are conditions." Amanda looked up. "What conditions?" "You must maintain a respectful relationship with your father, weekly family dinners, regular contact, and you must attend marriage counseling, either to repair your relationship with Greg or to end it healthily." Amanda nodded slowly. "That's fair. That's more than fair." Philip continued. "Your father will retain control of the remaining assets during his lifetime. Upon his death, the final distribution will depend on the state of your relationship and your behavior over the intervening years. So I have to earn my inheritance." "You have to earn back my trust," I corrected. "The inheritance is secondary." She looked at me for a long moment. Then she asked the question I'd been dreading. "Why didn't you and Mom ever tell me about the money?" "Because we wanted you to value us for who we were, not what we had. Because we saw how you compared yourself to your friends, to their houses and cars and vacations. We worried that knowing about the money would make it worse." "You were right," she said quietly. "I've been so focused on keeping up appearances, on having the perfect house and the perfect family and the perfect life, and I lost sight of what actually matters." "Which is?" I asked. "The people who love you, the people who are actually there when things fall apart." She wiped her eyes. "You were there, Dad. After Mom died. You were there, trying to help, and I treated you like a servant, like you were less than nothing." "Yes," I said. "You did. How do I fix this?" "I don't know if you can," I said honestly, "but you can try. You can show me, over time, that you understand what you did wrong. You can be better." Philip cleared his throat. "There's one more thing. Your father is purchasing a condominium. Hell, live independently. You won't have access to his home without an invitation. He'll see his grandchildren on his terms." Amanda nodded. "I understand." "Do you?" I asked. Because this isn't about punishment, Amanda. This is about survival. I can't live with you. I can't put myself in a position to be hurt like that again. I know, she whispered. I know. Philip began gathering documents. Well, formalize everything in writing. You'll receive copies of the trust documents for the children. The allowance will begin next month. The conditions will be clearly spelled out. What about Greg? Amanda asked. That's your decision, Philip said. But you should know that your mortgage is in jeopardy. You need to deal with that immediately. The $75,000 Mom gave me, Amanda said. I can use that. Get us current on the mortgage. Buy some time. And the gambling debts? Philip asked. Amanda's face hardened. Those are Greg's debts. He can figure out how to pay them. I'm not sacrificing Mom's money for his mistakes. There was a knock on the conference room door. Philip's assistant peeked in. I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's a little girl here asking for her grandfather. My heart jumped. Emma? The assistant nodded. She's with an older boy. They took a bus downtown. They said it was an emergency. Tyler and Emma. They'd come on their own. Amanda stood up, alarmed. How did they even know where to go? Philip's card, I said. They must have seen it. Emma's smart. Let them in, I told the assistant. A moment later, Emma burst into the room and ran straight to me. Grandpa! She threw her arms around my waist. You left, and you didn't come back, and I was so scared. Tyler followed more slowly, looking uncertain. Grandpa, we weren't sure if we should come, but Emma was really upset. I hugged them both, fighting back tears. You did the right thing. You always do the right thing, coming to Grandpa. Amanda watched us, fresh tears on her face. I'm sorry, she said to her children. I'm so sorry for everything. Emma looked at her mother with those wise 9-year-old eyes. You were mean to Grandpa, really mean, like the bad stepmothers in fairy tales. I know, baby, Amanda said. I know I was, and I'm going to spend a long time trying to make it right. Emma turned back to me. Are you coming home, Grandpa? I knelt down to her level. I'm going to have my own place now, sweetheart, but you can visit me all the time. Well, bake cookies and read books and do all the things we love. I promise. You promise you won't go away? Emma asked. I promise I'll never leave you, I said. Never. Tyler spoke up, his voice cracking with emotion. I'm old enough to understand what happened, Grandpa. Mom messed up. She knows it. Are you really never going to forgive her? I looked at my grandson, then at my daughter. Forgiveness takes time, Tyler. Your mom hurt me badly, but I love her. I love all of you. We're going to figure this out together. It'll just look different than before. Can we still have family dinners? Tyler asked. Every week, I said. At my new place, once I get settled. You, Emma, your mom. Well, see about your dad. Amanda spoke softly. Kids, why don't you go with Philip's assistant? She'll get you some snacks. Grandpa and I need to finish talking. After they left, Amanda said, They're the best things I ever did. The only things I haven't ruined. You haven't ruined them, I said. They're good kids because you and Martha raised them with love. Don't lose sight of that. What about Greg? She asked. Do I try to save my marriage? That's your choice. But you need to do it for the right reasons. Not because you're afraid to be alone. Not because of what people will think. Because you actually love him and believe he can change. I don't know if I do anymore, she admitted. I don't know if I ever really did, or if I just liked the idea of the perfect family. Then you have some hard thinking to do. Philip stood. I think we've accomplished what we needed to today. Amanda, I'll have my assistant email you all the relevant documents. Ike, are you ready to go? I nodded. Amanda stood too. Dad, can I hug you? I hesitated, then opened my arms. She fell into them, crying again. I'm sorry, she whispered over and over. I'm so sorry. I know, I said. I know you are. But sorry doesn't erase what happened. Sorry is just the first step on a very long road. 6 months passed. The seasons changed from summer's heat to autumn's cool beauty to winter's first frost. In that time, my life transformed in ways I never could have imagined standing in the rain that terrible night. I'm sitting in my condominium now, a beautiful 2-bedroom place on the 4th floor with a balcony overlooking Riverside Park. The trees below are dusted with fresh snow. Inside, the space is warm and filled with memories. I brought pieces from the house Martha and I shared. Our wedding photo sits on the mantel. Her favorite reading chair is by the window. The quilt her mother made, which I managed to save and have cleaned, drapes across the back of the couch. This place is mine, my sanctuary, my fresh start. The weekly dinners became a ritual. Every Sunday at 5 o'clock, Amanda and the kids come over. Sometimes Greg comes too, though less often now. Amanda filed for separation 3 months ago. They're working through it in counseling, trying to figure out if there's anything worth saving. Greg is attending Gamblers Anonymous, got a new job, making payments on his debts. Whether it's enough remains to be seen. But that's their journey, not mine. Tyler comes over twice a week after school. We sit at my kitchen table and work through his math homework, his history projects, his questions about life. Hez growing up so fast, becoming a thoughtful young man. Last week he told me he wants to study accounting like his grandma and grandpa did. My heart nearly burst. Emma comes every Saturday morning. We've established traditions. We bake something different each week. Cookies, muffins, bread, pies. The kitchen fills with the smell of vanilla and cinnamon and butter. We make messes and laugh and talk about everything and nothing. She tells me about school, about her friends, about the books she's reading. She asks questions about Martha, wants to know every story, every detail. I tell her about the woman her grandmother was, and I watch Emma absorb it all like precious treasure. Sometimes Emma asks about that night in the rain. I tell her the truth in age-appropriate ways, that Grandma and I worked very hard and saved money, that sometimes people forget what's important, that her mother made mistakes but is working to fix them. Emma nods with that serious expression she gets and says she's proud of her mom for trying. Children forgive so much more easily than adults. Amanda has changed. Not completely, perhaps not even enough yet, but she's trying. She got a part-time job at a marketing firm, contributing to her household, rebuilding her confidence. She's more humble now, more aware of her words and their impact. She asks about my day, actually listens to the answer. She thanks me for things, small things, big things. Last week she brought me flowers because she saw them and thought of me. It doesn't erase what happened, but it's a start. The money, ironically, matters less than I thought it would. Yes, it gave me options. It gave me leverage. It allowed me to set boundaries and protect myself. But the real power wasn't in the $7 million. It was in the choice to value myself, to recognize that I deserved respect and dignity regardless of my bank account. Philip became a true friend. We play chess every Thursday evening, and he usually wins. He introduced me to his family, his wife and 3 kids. I attend their barbecues and birthday parties. He still handles my legal matters, but now he also calls just to check in, to share a joke, to invite me to a basketball game. Carol from the diner and I meet for coffee every Wednesday morning. Shay's become my confidant, my sounding board. She understands loss in a way few people do. We talk about our spouses, our children, our complicated feelings about family and forgiveness. Last month I convinced her to try the painting class at the community center with me. Turns out we're both terrible at painting, but we laugh through every session. The community center has become a second home. I've joined a book club, tried my hand at watercolors, started playing bridge on Friday afternoons. Martha always wanted me to have hobbies beyond work. Now I do. I wish I could tell her about them, show her my terrible paintings. introduce her to my new friends. But in a way, I feel like she knows. Sometimes when Im's sitting on my balcony watching the sunset, I feel her presence, not in a supernatural way, just in the way you feel someone who loved you for 42 years. A warmth, a knowing, a sense that she's proud of how I handled everything. I visit her grave every Sunday after family dinner, bring fresh flowers, sit on the bench nearby, tell her about the week, about Tyler's math test, Emma's new favorite book, Amanda's progress, my painting disasters. I tell her about the life I'm building without her, but because of her, because she taught me how to love, how to work hard, how to value myself. Last Sunday, after everyone left, I pulled out the folder. The one I held in the rain that night. The documents are filed away properly now, safely stored, but I keep the folder itself as a reminder of how close I came to making a terrible mistake, of how pain and grief can cloud judgment, of how things can change in a single night. Emma saw the folder and asked what it was. I told her it was the thing that saved Grandpa. She wanted to know how papers could save someone, so I sat her down and explained, in simple terms, about hard work and planning for the future and protecting the people you love. She listened carefully, then asked the most Emma question possible. Grandpa, did Grandma help you that night, even though she was in heaven? I thought about that, about Martha's insistence on waterproof folders, about the will wed drawn up together, about her secret gift to Amanda, the $75,000 that I now understand was her way of protecting our daughter even from beyond the grave, about the love that lasted beyond death. Yes, sweetheart, I said. Grandma helped me. She's always helping us. Emma nodded, satisfied with that answer. Then she hugged me and whispered, I love you, Grandpa. I love you too, baby girl. That's what it comes down to, really. Love. Not the fairy tale kind that solves everything magically. The real kind that requires boundaries and forgiveness and hard conversations and time. The kind that says, I love you enough to demand you treat me with respect. I love you enough to give you a second chance. I love you enough to protect myself while still keeping the door open. The kind of love Martha and I built over 42 years. The kind I'm trying to model for my grandchildren. The kind Amanda is learning to practice, slowly and imperfectly. Standing in that rain 6 months ago, soaking wet and heartbroken, I thought I'd lost everything. My wife, my dignity, my daughter. I felt worthless, exactly as Amanda had called me. But holding that folder against my chest, I had no idea that it contained more than just documents. It contained possibility, choice, power. Not the power to punish, though I had that option. The power to set terms, to require respect, to say this is what I need, this is what I deserve, and if you want to be in my life, these are the boundaries. Money gives you options. That's true. But self-worth gives you freedom, the freedom to walk away from situations that diminish you, the freedom to demand better, the freedom to forgive on your own terms. I learned that boundaries aren't walls that keep people out. They're bridges that require both sides to meet in the middle. I had to be strong enough to build that bridge. Amanda had to be willing to cross it. We're both still building, still crossing. Some days are easier than others. Tyler asked me the other day if I regretted not just signing over all the money to his mom from the beginning. If it would have been simpler to just forgive everything immediately and move on. I thought carefully before answering. Forgiveness without accountability isn't really forgiveness, I told him. It's enabling. Your grandmother and I spent 42 years building that wealth. We did it through hard work and sacrifice and making smart choices. Just handing it over to someone who'd called me worthless, who'd physically thrown me out of her home, wouldn't have honored that work, wouldn't have honored your grandmother's memory. And most importantly, wouldn't have taught your mother anything. He understood. At 12 years old, He understood that love sometimes means letting people face consequences, that true compassion requires wisdom, not just softness. Martha would be proud of the man he's becoming. She'd be proud of Emma's kindness and strength. She'd be proud of Amanda's hard journey toward becoming better. And I hope, wherever she is, she's proud of me too, for standing up for myself, for choosing a path that protected everyone, even when it was hard. The snow is falling heavier now, blanketing the park in white. It's beautiful, peaceful. I think about making hot chocolate for when the kids come over tomorrow. Maybe we'll build a snowman if there's enough accumulation. Maybe we'll stay inside and bake brownies and watch movies. Whatever we do, we'll do it together. As a family. Imperfect, healing, learning as we go. That rainy night seems like a lifetime ago now. In many ways, it was. The broken man standing in that yard isn't who I am anymore. I'm stronger now, wiser, more aware of my own value. I have boundaries and a chosen family that extends beyond blood. I have peace, most days, and I have purpose. Martha used to say that sometimes you have to lose everything to find out what really matters. She was right. I lost my wife, my home, my daughter's respect, but in the rebuilding, I found myself. I found the strength I didn't know I had. I found the voice to say, enough. I found the wisdom to offer second chances with strings attached. Those papers I held in the rain weren't just documents proving my net worth. They were proof that Martha and I had built something meaningful, something worth protecting. If I could go back to that night, standing in the rain with my world falling apart, what would I tell myself? It'd say, hang on. It'd say, you're stronger than you know. It'd say, that folder you're clutching isn't just about money. It's about choices, about power, about the future. It'd say, by sunrise, yes, things will change. But not in the way you think. Because the biggest change wasn't Amanda realizing her mistake. The biggest change was me realizing my worth, and that, more than any amount of money, more than any inheritance or trust fund or estate plan, is the real gift Martha left me. The understanding that I am valuable, that I deserve respect, that love without dignity isn't really love at all. So here I sit, in my warm condominium, watching snow fall on the park, waiting for my grandchildren to visit tomorrow. My daughter is trying to be better. My son-in-law is trying to fix himself. My friends are a phone call away. My life is full and rich and mine. That's what I've learned in these 6 months, that sometimes the greatest act of love is setting boundaries. That forgiveness is a process, not an event. That family isn't about perfection. It's about showing up, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Those papers in the waterproof folder gave me options, but it was my choice to use them wisely, to protect myself while leaving room for reconciliation, to demand respect while offering grace, to honor Martha's memory by being strong enough to stand alone and generous enough to invite others to meet me halfway. As the snow continues to fall, I raise my coffee cup to Martha's photo on the mantel. Thank you, my love, I whisper, for 42 years of teaching me what matters, for the folder that saved me, for the love that still guides me. I kept my promise. I took care of our family, but I also took care of myself, and I think that's what you wanted all along. The phone rings. It's Amanda, asking if she can bring soup tomorrow with the kids, since I mentioned feeling a little under the weather. The gesture is small but significant. She's paying attention. She's caring. She's trying. I'd love that, I tell her. See you tomorrow. After we hang up, I return to the window. The park is almost completely white now, transformed by the snow into something new. Like me, like our family, transformed by crisis into something different than before. Not better or worse necessarily, just different, more honest, more aware, more real. And you know what? I think we're going to be okay. Not perfect, not magically healed, but okay. Learning, growing, showing up for each other in ways that matter. That rainy night, I held papers worth $7 million. Today, I hold something worth far more. Self-respect, boundaries, hope, connection, purpose, peace. Martha always said the best investments were the ones that paid dividends forever. She was talking about stocks and bonds, but she could have been talking about this, about the investment in myself, in my family's healing, in a future built on truth instead of obligation. These are the dividends that matter. A grandson who wants to follow in his grandparents' footsteps. A granddaughter who bakes with joy and asks deep questions. A daughter who is learning that being better is always possible. A life rebuilt from the ruins, stronger than before. So if you're out there, facing your own rain-soaked night, holding your own version of those papers, let me tell you what I've learned. Your worth isn't determined by how others treat you. It's determined by how you treat yourself. Stand firm, set boundaries, demand respect, but leave room for grace, for growth, for second chances earned through action, not just words. Love yourself enough to walk away from what diminishes you. Love others enough to let them face the consequences of their choices. Love wisely enough to know the difference between enabling and supporting. And know that sunrise always comes, the rain always stops, and sometimes the worst nights lead to the brightest mornings. That's the lesson Martha left me, wrapped up in waterproof folders and stock certificates and rental property deeds. Not that money solves everything, but that loving yourself enough to protect what matters, that's the real wealth. That's the inheritance I want to leave Tyler and Emma, not just the trust funds and financial security, but the understanding that they are valuable, that they deserve respect, that they should never accept being treated as less than they are. If I've taught them that, if Amanda has learned it, if this whole painful journey results in a family that loves more honestly and treats each other more carefully, then maybe it was all worth it. The snow is really coming down now, beautiful and clean and new, like this life I'm building, like the relationships I'm rebuilding, like the man I've become in the 6 months since that terrible, transformative night. I finish my coffee, close the curtains, prepare for bed. Tomorrow the kids will come and the house will fill with noise and laughter and life. Amanda will bring soup and try to take care of me the way I once took care of her. The cycle will continue, different now but still connected. And somewhere, I believe, Martha watches it all and smiles, knowing that her love still guides us, that the foundation she and I built together, financial and emotional, still holds strong. That the papers in that waterproof folder were just the beginning of a story that's still being written. A story about loss and pain and betrayal, but also about strength and boundaries and redemption, about a family learning to love better, about a man who discovered his own worth when he thought he'd lost everything. That's the story I'm living now. Not the one I would have chosen, but the one I'm making meaningful with every choice, every Sunday dinner, every chess game, every terrible painting, every conversation with my grandchildren about what really matters. And you know what? Despite everything, despite the rain and the pain and the long, hard road to get here, I'm grateful. Grateful for the lessons, grateful for the growth, grateful for second chances and fresh starts, and the opportunity to build something better from the broken pieces. Martha always said, everything happens for a reason. I'm not sure I believe that, but I do believe we can make meaning from what happens. We can choose how to respond. We can decide what kind of people we want to be in the aftermath. I chose to be someone who values himself, who sets boundaries, who offers grace without enabling, who protects what matters while keeping his heart open to possibility. And I think, wherever she is, Martha is proud of that choice. I know I am. Before you go, I want to ask you something. Have you ever had to choose between protecting yourself and keeping peace with family? How did you handle it? Did you set boundaries or try to keep the peace at your own expense? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your stories. If this story resonated with you, if it made you think about your own relationships and boundaries, please hit that like button. It helps others find these stories and know they're not alone in facing difficult family dynamics. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. There are more stories like this one, about real people facing real challenges and finding their way through. Stories about betrayal and redemption, about loss and healing, about ordinary people discovering extraordinary strength. Finally, if you know someone who needs to hear this message, someone who's struggling with family boundaries or wondering if they deserve better treatment, please share this story with them. Sometimes we all need reminding that our worth isn't determined by how others treat us, but by how we treat ourselves. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here, for caring, for taking the time to understand what happened that rainy night and in all the days that followed. Your support means more than you know. May you all find the strength to stand in your own worth, the wisdom to set healthy boundaries, and the grace to offer second chances when they're truly earned. May you know your value, demand respect, and build relationships that honor who you are. And may you never have to stand in the rain, wondering if you matter. Because you do. We all do. Take care of yourselves. And remember, sunrise always comes.